Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to A Meditation a Day, hosted by EWN, Enlightened World Network. We're so happy to have the privilege and fun time of coming here once a month, the very first Mondays of the months of each month. Well, our master spiritual teacher here, GP Walsh, takes us through it is a meditation. It's a guided self-inquiry. And today I'm going to throw in some tapping in here for him to do for us. But before we go into that, and GP's going to take the screen and do that with you guys. I know that you all love doing it together. We can definitely feel the energy from it. Let's introduce the topic today. GP does not know the topic. I like to surprise him. and he and I were chatting yesterday about something, and I felt some resistance coming up at first. And I thought, oh, and we know what to do now when we have resistance. We want to feel that feeling, allow it, and inquire. So GP and I were talking about shadow work. And even the word shadow work makes me feel like that's evil or something I don't want to look at or do. Shadow work, that doesn't sound fun at all. So I thought, well, maybe there's something there. Like, a lot of people are doing shadow work. I don't actually know exactly what it is. So I'm going to ask you, GP, if you could share with us, what is shadow work? Why do some people really want to do it or need to do it? And why are some people resisting it, like myself? Is it just because we don't understand, or is it scary? And then we'll have you go in and do a self-inquiry that can help people if it's needed, if shadow work is needed. I don't even know.
Well, the term was actually coined by Carl Jung, and he used it to express. I mean, it's a different way of expressing what I talk about all the time. The shadows are the angels in the basement. They're the disowned parts of ourselves, and he called them shadows because we want to see the part we like, and we don't want to see the part we don't like. But we never question why we like it or don't like it. Because if they're both a part of me, I can't get rid of either side. So what is it that makes me reject this part of me? And characterize it as being this awful, ugly thing that I should be afraid of and run away and the like. And it always goes back to the childhood traumas, wherein certain parts of you simply were not acceptable, right? And so they had to go underground, right? You had to suppress them, but they're not gone, right? And so they end up. One of the mechanisms by which they are suppressed is that they are characterized as being bad or evil or sinful or shameful, right? No, they're not. They're just you, right? And you don't see any little kids ever ashamed of themselves, right? Yeah. So we learned that. And the way we were taught will reject the part, will determine which part we reject. But because they don't actually go away, right? They can't, because they're you, right? I can cover up my eyes, but they're still there, right? And these aspects of ourselves are not static. They're not dormant. They're an energy that wants to move. Ooh. And so they end up coming out sideways. They end up coming out as anger when there's not any inappropriate behavior, something that your reaction doesn't match what actually happened. Yes. I'll tell you a story about that. When I was back in the 90s, when I was in a men's group for 5 years, every time we get together, which was once a week for 3-4 hours, just to help each other with stuff and process things. It was my turn to do some processing work. And, you would do it and you'd want feedback from the other men, because you want to have somebody help hold up a mirror to what you're saying. And one of the guys said something to me, and I went off like a rocket. I don't know what he said. It just, the way he said it, I mean, I was just completely triggered. And I just went off and I read him the riot act. And I'm looking around at all these surprised faces. And I go, didn't you hear that? Didn't you know what he said? I said, no, that's not what he said. And I said, whoops, that was all me. And, that's the advantage of a support group where you're with a bunch of people that you actually trust, right? And, if one person tells you you're full of shit, you can dismiss it. But if 5 people you trust tell you that, you're probably full of shit. But that's the shadow, right? It comes out in reacts. It comes out in defense. It comes out in self-sabotage. It comes out in just doing stupid things. I remember once, again, when I was living in New York, I was doing therapy with this really excellent psychotherapist. And I was on the way to his office, and I've been to his office numerous times. But this one day, I kept walking by it. I didn't see it. 3 times. I went back again. So what the hell's going? So I actually studied the numbers to get into the door, right? So this is the way it works. It's the stuff that remains under the surface, and because the suppressive mechanism is so powerful, right? It's diligently working to keep that energy contained, which of course it can't really do. So that's what the shadow is. Yeah, you can call it shadow. You can call it the unconscious, subconscious. You can call it inner child. You can call it angels in the basement. They're all the same, right?
Inner child is the same as the shadow.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's another word that I've never been a fan of either. This is this is going to be interesting. You did say one word I was wanting to link in here before we go into the beautiful inquiry that we'll figure out. Trigger. Is because a lot of us will recognize, oh, that's a trigger for me, or trigger warning, trigger. Is it? It's the trigger. The trigger is the thing that is making you look at your shadow, or like what is a trigger compared to that?
The trigger, besides being Roy Rogers' horse.
Yes. That took me back.
Yeah, how about it? Probably a lot of our audience has no idea what I just said. Anyway, what it is that when some event takes place, right, to which you have a pre-programmed reaction, and you're unconscious of it, so the reaction happens, and you react emotionally, mentally, even physically, in the behavior and stuff. Like I went off on that guy, right? That's a trigger. The trigger is that which is sitting there ready to be pulled, or the button that's ready to be pressed. It's a pre-programmed reaction to certain circumstances and events, right? And the pre-programmed reaction may be completely inappropriate for the event, right? Especially, when you're an adult, whereas it may have been the right reaction when you were a kid. And every time we need to suppress something, right, that's a trigger. Right? Something has happened in the environment in the past. When I've responded to it, something worse has happened. I learned. The nervous system learns very quickly to not let that happen again, right? And instead trigger a different set of behaviors that's going to be more acceptable to the environment, even though they're not really me. They're totally phony. And so you can see it is an unconscious programmatic mechanism. I call it the robot because that's what it is. And when we're not conscious of it, it runs our lives.
Okay. And if hopefully what we're doing is we're not just looking at it to say, there it is, fix it, get it rid, or do something. We'll let you do that.
Sorry, doesn't work that way. But that's the first step in recognizing that I am reacting. I am simply reacting like a robot. There's no conscious choice here. There's no conscious engagement. It's completely automatic, which means I'm not free. And that's when you want to be free, you want to be free from that which is simply automatic, where you don't have a choice. So the first thing is seeing that this is a trigger, that the reaction to it is not really appropriate. You feel into it deeply enough, you'll often find that what I'm feeling now doesn't have anything to do with this moment. It's an echo from the past. It's how I reacted to those circumstances, 40 years ago, that has never actually been cleared. It's never been given the opportunity to release itself so that a reaction that is appropriate, or better yet, a conscious response based on having availability of inner resources, is brought to the fore instead. And that's what happens when the triggers are dissolved and the automatic programming has diminished or been eliminated. What emerges is not a different program, but the real you, which is not a program.
Love that. And I love the word choice there. I have to go back and hear them, but dissolve or resolve or dissipate, or like, it's much nicer than fixing and getting rid of and get over it and all those kind of things. So
They don't work. Period.
yeah,
I mean, it's a waste of time. They simply don't work.
right. So maybe that would be a best place to start. And if anybody wants to add some comments here and share with us if there's something that you're thinking of, that maybe you're being triggered or reminded or would like to get through something, but maybe GP could walk us through a meditation, a self-inquiry meditation, how to approach something if we go, yeah, that's a trigger. What do I do now with it if I was going to add some love?
Okay, if I was going to add some love to it. All right, let me find my cursor so I can.
I'll be meditating with you.
So I can solo me. Yes, because Lisa likes to go through the meditations as well. Well, everyone, it's always really nice to be able to sit with you all and begin this process of freeing ourselves from automatic responses. And that's what it's about. We suffer because of the automatic reactions we have to things that are really coming from wounds and traumas way in the past, that are just so tightly wound and feel they need to be there in order to protect you, that it restricts your life. So take a deep breath, everyone, and close your eyes. And begin to just kind of settle into your body. And I'm going to invite you, because this is something we could call reprogramming, right? Because of course it is. The human nervous system is an organic computer-like thing. It creates all sorts of different responses to various circumstances with the simple goal of keeping you safe, of keeping body and soul together. And as you're just breathing now, just focusing in your body, I want you to let go of any kind of ideas or intention you have to fix something right now. We can pick that all up later. But right now, just let go of the fixing and see if you can touch inside of you this place that is just wanting to be free, whatever that means. Freedom from being triggered, freedom from stress, freedom from anxiety, freedom from self-sabotage, from self-judgments, freedom from that inner critic. But as you're doing that, try not to look upon all those various things, the self-critic and judgment and self-sabotage and all that, as enemies that have to be vanquished. But instead as shadows, or as angels in the basement, as characters that are actually useful and powerful for you, but have been twisted out of shape. So that they're acting really opposite of their own nature. Because they were simply never allowed to express themselves. And notice as you do that, just the willingness to perhaps see them in a different light. Notice the effect that has on your body. It's very natural for us to calm down and just kind of a quiet begin to emerge when we're no longer in conflict with whatever's going on. The defenses in the system begin to come down. So just keep feeling your body. Keep bringing attention back to the breath if you find yourself getting distracted. Being distracted is not a problem. It's perfectly natural. It's simply the way the mind works. It's always looking for things. But keep your attention on the feelings in your body. Letting go of any intention other than to simply be present, to be here, to want to know what's really going on and what's really the open door to freedom. If you've been doing inner work for any period of time, you know that you just can't get rid of these feelings. In fact, trying to get rid of them causes an increase in stress. And that's because you can't get rid of them. What if we were to just give them permission to be there? Just for this short period of time we have together, just whatever is here, just let it be here. Remember, they're just feelings. They can't hurt you. They may be uncomfortable. They may be unpleasant. You may not like them, but they're not going to really hurt you. They're just feelings. And you can think of these, any unpleasant feelings or resistance that's there as a shadow. You can think about it as a wounded or traumatized inner child. How we picture it in order to engage with it isn't nearly as important as the act of engaging. To just be present with the feelings themselves, whatever feeling is there. If you have some particular trigger that you're experiencing now, or that maybe you experienced recently, or maybe not even so recently, just kind of bring that to mind with all the feelings that went with it. Or maybe there's a trigger when somebody does something to you, or you see some politician obviously lying. Anything that causes us to have that energy, you can feel that kind of that clenching energy inside. Or some thought that triggers a fear for my future, for my family. All of those are shadows. I just want you to notice the effect of simply being present has. And this isn't anything magic. It's not a trance. It's not hypnosis. What does it feel like to you when somebody just accepts you the way you are? Just allows you to be what you are without criticism. feeling is one of just relief. You can let down your guard and not have to be watching everything you say or walking on eggshells. It's just this, it's okay for me to just be here, let my hair down, just be as I am, show up without makeup. Another word for this is simply unconditional love. Acceptance without placing conditions on that acceptance. And you may notice that unconditional acceptance is what we didn't get as children. And that's what created the shadows, the angels in the basement, the wounded inner child. So something, as you're just being present here, something specific pops up, be it a memory or some kind of feeling, or it's even a sensation in the body. Just give it your attention. We don't need to analyze it, figure it out in any way. You'll notice that certain feelings, when they arise, will trigger a reaction. We want to get away from them, or our mind will start trying to reframe them or explain them. I want you to just notice that happening, because that is the unconscious process. Something arises, an event in the world, a thought in your mind, or a feeling within the body, and it sets in motion a series of reactions. This is the nature of the nervous system. And I want you to just watch the whole string of reactions, but don't participate. Stay present and conscious. You are the compassionate witness to it, the process. You're looking at the robot rather than becoming it. Which means you are in that moment, when you're just watching it without judging it or trying to stop it, you become the perfect loving parent. You become the embodiment of acceptance without conditions or prerequisites. You're giving yourself the thing you most needed but didn't get. And notice how that feels. And the effect of this is very fast, because your nervous system, the whole energy system, is so sensitive that it detects every little tiny shift in the environment. But this is more than a tiny shift. Because this is a shift away from your being the unaccepting, judging influence, to being the witness of it that is compassionate and loving. So once again, just scan your whole body, your emotions, and just whatever is there, you simply say yes to it. It's okay, you can be here. You don't have to know why it's there. You don't have to know where it came from, what it's caused, what it's supposed to do. All that will come later. You are a safe haven. is what all of our hearts desire. So just take another deep breath and say thank you. Feel a nice thank you for the whole energy system. See if you can notice that it's thanking you back. Remember that you are the light at the center. You are the conscious essence, the self-aware center that animates all the rest of it. And it is there to serve you. First job, to keep you safe, and then secondarily, once that's safe, to be the vehicle of full self-expression as a human being. And that's the harmonious human. So one more breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Hello, everybody's back. Oh, that was so deep when we allow it, and something that came up for me, I'd love to hear if it came up for anybody else, that disengaging. So we can engage with it, and if you do it with like the compassionate witness, then you almost disengage. And what kind of went through my mind was, oh, wouldn't that be nice, as the more I do that with myself, I can simply do it from other people. Like, a lot of times we think we want to, like, in my mind, a trigger came up and I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, wow, that's from my mom. Right? And I got it. And then as we continued that self-inquiry, I actually was just now compassionately witnessing my mother's shadows and disengaged.
Yes.
And then that kind of melted. I went, oh, wouldn't that be fun if that just happens to everybody? Like, I don't have to worry about anybody else's triggers and shadows.
Well, actually, you don't, because it doesn't. The reason these meditations work is because at this level, it's all the same for all of us. Right? The mechanism is identical. Right? Obviously, everybody's life is different. Certain things were suppressed, certain things weren't. Somebody got more of that, less of this, right? So it's different. Every individual is a completely different story. But at the essence of it, it's the same book. Right? The book is a book. It may contain different stories, but the book is the same. The way the human mechanism works is identical in every single human being. That's why we can boil this down to this simple process of self-acceptance, because everybody responds to self-acceptance.
Yes, that was a thought that went through my mind as I was looking around in there. Was so I had that experience, but if I didn't have that experience, I would have that experience or this experience. And so in
Yes.
the end, I mean, we all get experiences and they're ours. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boil.
Yeah, I mean, we all have a computer and it's got different programs on them. Some of the programs are the same, some are different. And the human nervous system is like a computer. It's way more interesting and
Yeah.
and nonlinear and subtle for sure. But that's what it is. I mean, it's simply a self-programming machine that its objective is simply staying alive.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's making up programs that are absolutely unique for the environment, right? But the basic functioning is the same for everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And our level of happiness, I think, is different too. Because it's to safety, to stay alive and to be happy. But everybody does experience happiness in a different way. But what you said was so true. Self-acceptance is at the core, and it's that's the same. That's
Yeah.
universal.
Well, when you're talking about the emotional high of happiness, the emotional state of happiness, right? Yes, that's going to be different for everybody. One thing that'll make you jump for joy, this is the most wonderful thing in the world. Somebody else will be just, you want this? Right? Because again, that's part of the programming. We focus a lot on the shadow side, the negative side, because it's so influential and under the surface. But as you spiritually mature, you begin to look at the ways that the things that you really are drawn to and that you prefer and you like, well, is that more of the same? Well, the answer is yes, it is. And a lot of the stuff that we have that we really think is wonderful and we need to have is nothing but a program that has just decided that this is going to solve the problem, right? Again, it's a very subtle mechanism the way it works. But once you understand it at its roots, right down at the base of how this thing is functioning, it becomes universal. You have a Swiss Army knife because now it works. The same mechanism of healing works in every single instant, even though in every instant it will be a different set of circumstances and different kinds of things. It's all the same. So it's always about it always starts with the allowing that leads to self-acceptance. You don't say, oh, you just got to accept yourself. Nobody can do that, right? I said, okay, but can you for a moment just let yourself feel whatever you're feeling? Just for a moment. Right? Yeah, it sucks. Okay. It sucks. Feel the sucky feeling, right? Without knowing it, you are in self-acceptance in that moment. Because we think this is a horrible feeling that has to be gotten rid of. And I'm just, for a moment, I'm going to go be with it, right? Because, this old guy in a chair tells me it's going to have some benefit. So you still may have some kind of an antagonistic relationship. You still think it needs to be gotten rid of, but you're willing to simply for a moment be with it, right? That is the practice of self-acceptance, but you don't know it yet because it hasn't been integrated in such a way that you think, oh, I can just be. This is self-acceptance. Oh, if I just let myself feel what I'm feeling, that's what I wasn't allowed to do before. That's just accepting me as I am. And then suddenly you realize that all those feelings are you. And so what's the point of trying to get rid of you? And self-acceptance begins to really mature to the point where, oh, these are aspects of myself that I've simply disowned, right? There's not anything really wrong with them. And you could see how it would just increase, because the very act of simply being with it for a moment immediately brings the stress levels down. You can feel it in the body because for a moment anyway, you're not fighting it. So it's not in defense. So, right. And it can't help. It's totally reactive. It can't just unilaterally make a truce, right? As long as there's a threat, it's like this. It doesn't have any capacity for being self-acting. So if which you do have that capacity, say, okay, I'm just going to let you be that way. Boom, it can drop away. Right? So it's all in your hands. It's all in the hands, in the conscious you that is becoming more and more conscious of where it is, and seeing that a lot of the things that you thought were you aren't you, right? And that all those reactive patterns are just reactive patterns. They're not who I am.
Yes.
And that's the big insight.
I felt that. I feel it every time I do a meditation with you. It's, you don't get what it is you just, whatever, you don't even know what it is. You don't have to know what it is. You don't have to identify it, but whatever resistance, battle, fight, energy that was holding something, it just calms down. And I can physiologically feel like a complete calmness in me, but I don't know where it is. I just know that it's not right. It's
That's
just
right.
settled.
That's when you do that, the nervous system doesn't have to defend against you.
Right.
And so the defenses come down because it doesn't need them. I mean, it's so smart. The defenses are only there if it needs it. If it doesn't need it, it drops them. Right? It's totally adaptive.
Yeah. We'll talk about a way to get more energy. That like it's not more energy, I'm free. And that is more energy. It's a different kind of
Well,
more.
what happens is the energy that's been going into defense now becomes available to you for creative expression.
Yes, and who doesn't want more of
So yeah,
that?
there is more energy available for you, right?
Yeah,
Because it takes a lot of energy to defend yourself.
it does. It's exhausting. And yes, we get
It's
that's a
exhausting.
whole other one. November we'll go into something fun at that. If you guys have any suggestions or requests that you would like GP to walk us through and do for next month. Well, I can't believe next month is November, but hello to Mary, Ava, and the Awakened INFJ. We are
Yeah.
so happy that you're here with us, and I'm glad that you guys can make it, and you can watch it on replay, repeat. And one quick little, I want to invite everybody because you can see now how this practice, it doesn't take long. It's just that moment, and it's not hard. You know what I mean? It's not hard to do. We can all do it, and we can all come together. You don't have to be at any level. I do want to make an invitation to everybody to the Tappist Monks. It's where we tap every week together as a group. You can tap live one-on-one with GP. It's Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time, but even just watching the replay and then tapping along in your own way is helpful. And that price has been dropped to $47 US a month. And that's every week. We want to make it as super affordable that we possibly can. And I so like bursting with joy to invite you to do that. And it's super easy to sign up. We can't put the link, I don't think, but what I can do is tell you and put it in the comments. It's just gpwalsh.com and then Tappist monks with an S. So Tappist monks, but just put a comment in here. We'll find you and let you know. But we always look forward to EWN is just so special and wonderful for having us come and do this. And we love sharing it. And GP, thank you for this. This is beautiful.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for pulling me into this.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Indeed, you did.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll see you next month. And come on over to GP Walsh's channel as well. You've got lots more goodies there. Okay, bye, everyone.